Hello, and welcome to our podcast, 454 and More. My name is Ryan Simons.
My name is Gianna Amato.
I'm Aiden Garapola. I'm Cade Hogue.
And today we are talking about something that affects every single student in grades 3 through 8, physical education advocacy. When you hear the word advocacy, you might think of protests or petitions, but advocacy in PE means speaking up for quality physical education as an essential part of every child's school day. Over the next several minutes, we'll explain why PE is crucial for elementary and middle school students, how it supports academic learning, what the research says about physical activity and brain development, and most importantly, how you as parents, teachers, and community members can advocate for strong PE programs in your schools. Let's start with a question. When was the last time your child came home excited about something they did in PE? If the answer is not often, then there's probably work to be done.
And when we think about things like that, like children coming home and not having fun things to say about PE class, I think we've all had experiences talking, where our teachers didn't exactly do the greatest things, right? I never had some things like exit slips, right? The things I've learned here in Cortland, I never had a lot of those cognitive or affective assessments. I barely had psychomotor assessments. It was a lot more of just, right, the physical play, right? And every year it was the same volleyball section and the same pickleball lesson and the same basketball lesson every single year. So I really didn't, after I built the foundational skills, right, I didn't gain anything from PE, right? And can you guys say similar things about that?
And I think it's not that, it's oftentimes these, like we talk about in class, like these roll the ball out type of teachers where if it's not the structured unit, like the same one that we did last year, it's here's a basketball, here's a volleyball, here's whatever, go take care of yourself for the next however many minutes.
And
I think honestly, another problem is a lot of teachers now are burned out. They're burnt out. They don't follow up with the conferences. They're not reading up on up-to-date models. They're just burnt out. They're here basically they're just waiting for retirement or waiting for summer break, that next break.
Yeah. Sure. I think that's a great point. I feel like a lot of teachers, right, once they finish school, right, their learning sometimes ends. And I think in a profession like teaching, right, it's very important that you stay up to date with a lot of those things.
There's no progression or chance for skill development. So there's no easy things turning into hard things. There's no easy skills working on the skills themselves before you work on gameplay. I feel like they just jump into gameplay right away, assuming that we know the skills and we're good at them. So there's no base level to see the refinement of the skills. So we need to work on that because the children need to learn the skills first and have units about the skills to refine the skills and then eventually be able to participate in group activities and as well as activities outside of school.
Agreed. I think that's why advocacy in a profession like physical education is so important because, right, if these teachers not are allowed to keep teaching the way they are, but right, if we don't say something or go into a program and try and change it, right, it just becomes the same cycle repeating over and over. So it's just important to find those spaces and advocate for the kind of evolution and change that a class like physical education should have.
And this is the base level of life to be physically active. So if they don't learn these skills and they don't have PE, they're not going to know how to pick up a box or walk somewhere, walk upstairs, or do basic living things that you can do. So this is a base level of development that they need to get so that they can do stuff outside of PE and outside of school. Because walking is a daily thing we do, and lifting.
I think that kind of touches on it perfectly. As much as parents are, expected to help their child learn to walk, talk, run, do all these other things, we're expected to keep their child physically active during the school day.
And make them want to do it outside of school also.
Right. So, teaching not only... So, kind of to go back to the roll the ball teacher, you don't want to just, give them these materials and tell them just play. We want them to ultimately have some sort of good experience with these type of things. So, like you said, they want to go back outside and Mom, we played lacrosse today in gym. Can I try lacrosse next season? Those kind of things, right?
Especially at this age also in elementary, middle school. Elementary school, they're working on those basic fundamental skills. And then middle school, they're getting hit with a million different sports that they could be into when they get to high school and what they can pursue after high school. So middle school is a really big area for them to learn a lot, various sports and activities so they can have a chance to know what they want to do when they get to high school.
Agreed. And Gianna, you mentioned after school programs, and I think that's another huge part about advocacy that's important is trying to bring the physical education setting outside of the 60 minutes 2 times a week that already isn't meeting some of the requirements we talked about that it's important for students to be getting, right? So you want to find that in other ways. So if you can get that in an after school program or youth sports, I think that's a very important thing that should be pushed for and advocated for.
I agree with that, and we also need to advocate for make sure we're inclusive for everyone. Because in middle school, especially, there's a lot of people who are ranges differently. So we need to make sure we have the right equipment and we're adaptive so all students can succeed and create lessons that are developmentally appropriate for everyone.
Physical education at this level, they're not only learning about different sports and how to move and how to refine their skills so they can be physically literate. They're also learning how to work with others. They're working on teamwork. They're working on listening skills. They're really getting that social aspect. So without PE, they wouldn't get these social interactions where they learn how to work aside others and share and work on strategies, hearing other people's sides, disagreements. You learn so much socially through PE, and I feel like if we didn't have PE or we don't advocate for it, they're not going to have those skills. So they're just going to be not physically literate, and they're not going to have those social cues, because in a normal school classroom, they're just sitting in the chair, and it's really just like the teacher standing up there spitting information at them, but they're just sitting there and they're not talking to anyone, and they're just getting hit with information. But PE, you're using it, you're getting the information, and then you're actually doing. So you're doing instead of just sitting there. So we need to know that they're getting the social aspect as well as the physical aspect. So it's very important to have PE in the schools.
I agree. And also, PE is a great way to build a student's confidence. And when you're just overall a more confident person, you can also excel in other areas, such as athletics. Right now, a lot of people are calling PE like gym class.
Right.
A gym is like an area where it is a play, but during PE, the gymnasium is actually a classroom.
Sure.
It is a classroom, and you have this opportunity to really make an impact on people's lives.
Yeah, going off that, I think one of the hardest things that this profession will challenge us with is just the stigma around being a physical educator, right? I think there's so many people in the past that have, created this terrible,
Absolutely.
not terrible, but lackluster program, a stigma around the whole program that, it's just where people go and play games. It's just where, you go and you play dodgeball for 40 minutes and then leave and go about the rest of your day. And that these teachers that were in these positions before, that, maybe it wasn't terrible then, but we do know now that these aren't acceptable and it's not what is benefiting a child, right? So I think it's important to try and break through that stigma, despite what other people may think about us as physical educators in the future. We need to understand that we know what our profession is, and we need to make it good so that the students gain something from it.
I kind of want to combine what both of you guys said and also what you were saying a little bit prior, where there's certain times where, especially when I was in school, where at the middle school level, there was kids that were totally just left out to dry because they didn't want to play certain sports or do certain activities, and teacher was just so okay with that. Okay, well, you could walk, or you sit in the corner and just watch. It's like, well, that's not beneficial for either party, right?
Jumping in on that, I was one of the students who had a disability and was told to write a paper during probably 4 units of the year, and no one was there to advocate for me, so I would just literally go to the library and write papers, and that makes no sense because I didn't get any accommodations, any help. There was no one there to advocate for me and say, no, she just needs adaptations. They're not even that hard to do. She needs to learn these skills so she can pursue and refine her skills herself, like me. And I never got that, and still till today, all my skills are all messed up. I can't catch a ball because I never was taught the correct way. I never was adapted for. So I think advocating, if someone could advocate for me, like if I could have advocated for myself, it would have been amazing. Because I sit here and I think back and I think that makes no sense. Like, why would they just tell me to write a paper? They should at least do, maybe I could do scorekeeping or something. It's not like, they're just using bias. So these teachers be using a bias and they just think that we can't do things, but we literally can. And I think it's unfair. So if someone could advocate for me, I could have refined my skills and know how to catch a ball right now.
I mean, like,
That's terrible. It's
Yeah.
awful.
it's so kind of to continue what I was saying. It's like that doesn't benefit either party, right? Like ultimately, these kids are in class to physically engage themselves for whatever it is, 40 minutes, 42 minutes, whatever it may be, and we're there to keep them physically fit and physically active. And like I was saying, if neither party is doing that, then what is anybody getting out of the whole thing? Like, doesn't make any sense, really.
I think that students learn from us being able to advocate for them. I think that they learn advocacy for themselves. So during gameplay, if they're sitting there and their group is talking about strategies and they think of something that doesn't make sense or they have something to add, they can advocate for themselves and saying, I want a bigger part in this, or I have something else to say, like I have a different strategy. So they learn how to really open up and talk for themselves instead of just sitting there and listening like the normal classroom. They're allowed to and they're encouraged to speak up and speak what they have in their mind cognitively. And I feel like we do have to work on hitting that cognitive domain so that they can be physically literate and they can understand what they're doing and understand the behind the scenes part, so like the strategies part and the teamwork building part, rather than just rolling the ball out and just playing.
I think the why of it all, like you were saying, is very important as well. Like, especially at the younger ages, like kids want to know why they are doing certain things
Right.
and why things are being done the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would agree. That's very important.
Then, I was just say like just really focus on like the process over the outcome, emphasize like the effort and improvement and how you want to build like a growth mindset like early on. Just kind of expand on that.
And I think, it's not like there aren't programs out there, right? It's these teachers are choosing not to participate in these established programs that have proven that they have success, like CISPAP, it has a comprehensive school physical activity program is the acronym for it, right? There are these resources online that talk about ways to create quality PE for these students, and yet these teachers, because they're just so set in their ways, and parents and other faculty members and the PE teachers themselves are, just so complacent in how it is, these programs don't get implemented because no one advocates for the students in this section of learning.
I think complacency is the perfect word. And not only that, I think it's a taught, or rather maybe a learned complacency, right? I mean, nobody wants to go into their job, at least I would hope. Nobody wants to go into their job and be okay with being okay, but it seems, unfortunately, that is the harsh reality of our profession. There's so many people that are just okay with being okay.
Right.
Yeah. Luckily, though, as we hear about a student teach next semester, though, we can actually advocate for these changes, and we can use other resources such as like CSFAP and Open Phys Ed, which has hundreds of ideas and lessons that we can use for free, and we can introduce this to these older teachers and kind of try to get them their spark back, because that's what the benefit is of being such a young teacher. Is you come in with these ideas and you can use what we have learned throughout our time at Cortland.
Some things I want to touch on here as we're kind of wrapping up is some actionable strategies to effectively advocate for these students, these younger kids 3 through 8, or grades 3 through 8. So speaking at school board meetings is incredibly important. Writing schools to your superiors, so your principal, your superintendent, your school board members, advocating for these kids, telling them what changes need to be made, what needs to be bought that these kids don't have access to. Starting a parent advocacy group, so having active conversations with these parents about what they're expecting, what they want for these kids to be doing in class.
At that grade level, 3 to 8, that is like the biggest time of these students' lives where they find out who they are physically and emotionally. So PE gives them that outlet to find themselves, find what sports they like, see if they like movement, and really get to know how they are socially. Are they an introvert, an extrovert? Like really getting to know themselves. It's a really big age where they learn that, and this is how PE will help them. PE in that level helps them soar everything. They get to have that variety of all sports, all activities, all different kinds of people, and that they're getting seen. Introduced to. They're getting introduced to. So that really helps them as a person and really grow, because that is like the time where they grow and they are about to choose what they want to do.
I agree with that. And I think, we talk about a lot of the social benefits, but there's a bunch of just physical and mental health benefits, right? Like the CDC talks about that physical moderate to vigorous physical activity improves brain health for these children, right? It's been seen to improve thinking, cognition for these children from 6 to 13, and reduce short-term feelings of anxiety for adults. So this regular physical activity that we can push for and we can try and get them more of is going to keep them thinking, learning in the schools, and help them to process a lot of not just the physical education aspects, but other classes in the same schools, right? Which is not going to just only improve them as a physically literate individual, but as an overall learner.
Right. The CDC and Journal of Health, the Journal of School Health, both have published studies, that kind of back that up. So students are more efficient learners throughout their day when they are enjoying the classes they're taking, right? So not even just the class that they're in right now. So let's say they're doing science, right? Like if they have PE later and they're dreading PE, they're taking away some of that thinking power, dreading PE instead of focusing on class.
I'm tired of being a bystander. I do want to advocate, because I think PE is a giant part of these students' lives. And I believe that this PE system that we're in right now is not at a good level. I think that it's seen as playtime. And I think we need to change that, because this is where our students will learn. And I remember when I was in high school, I thought PE was just stupid and boring, and I really didn't think anything of it. I thought it was playtime, but it turns out that was only because of my teachers. They weren't teaching correctly. Right. And I feel like we can change that, and we can bring it to light that it is physical education. We should be getting taught, and we should be able to, it's like controlled chaos. We're controlling an environment, but we're allowed to soar everything and see a variety of everything.
Definitely, as PE teachers, we're not just teaching movement; we're shaping habits for life. So that's something that all of us think about, and why we need to advocate for better PE programs.
Yeah, and I think we need to advocate from all levels, right? It's not just a classroom, right?
Agreed.
You want to try and work with families, communities, the administration, school boards. You want to try and work with everything to create, to partner with a YMCA, right?
Create connections.
Yeah, create connections, right? Have activities families can do at home, right? Give the students voices to talk about the things they want to do. And I think that's just a huge part, is giving the students the voice to actually speak for themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys, this has been 454 and more. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed. This has been Ryan.
This is Gianna. I had so much fun.
This is Aiden.
And this is Cade.
Thank you so much.